Hi, everyone. We are giving this a try, and we're not going to give up until we're on. Sometimes, everything is working well, and sometimes we just have not enough juice and different areas. Hi, Beth. I see you on already. That's fantastic. I'm waiting for your request to join. I'm viewing your request. Here we go. Whoops. Okay, and I'm pressing go live with you. Leah Baby, thank you. Cheek to Diane 180 joined. Hi there. Hi, everyone. I am not yet seeing Beth come on. I know that we're going to make this happen somehow and can't wait for it to go. Hi, Daily Pippin. Hi, Daily Pippin. Hi, Clearly Lux. And Cuisine Sana Benamor joined. Hi there. Thanks for coming on to Disruptive Conversations, which we deep dive into the experiences that women have needed to navigate and conquer in order to achieve their personal and professional success. Here, Beth has requested again. Okay, I'm hitting go live with Beth. Yes. Okay, let's see. Come on, Beth, let's go live. We're good. We're trying to go live here. Oh my gosh, we've done it. We have done it. Okay, yay us. We do not give up. Contrary to what people may think, we do not give up. So Beth, I'm going to introduce the show and myself and you, and then we're going to get rolling. Thanks everyone for hanging in with us. We are so thrilled to have you here. Welcome to Disruptive Conversations, in which we deep dive into the experiences of innovators, thought leaders, influencers, authors, educators, and the experiences that these women have needed to navigate and conquer in order to achieve their personal and professional success. I'm Dr. Risa Ryger, clinical psychologist, and I'm an expert in change. I help people make positive change at any point. Now, one thing for sure is that you can't make positive change without disruption. And you need to disrupt a thought, a feeling, a belief, a behavior, a habit in order to create your 10.0 life. And that's what this series of conversations is all about. And today, I am beyond thrilled to have the one and only Beth Smayda on our show today. And Beth is a wealth of wisdom, and here's some of the reasons why. The women I have on are extraordinary. I had to read from the bio, so much to remember. So Beth is a public finance professional. She began at Moody's. For those of you public finance, you know what that means. And she is a co-founder of Northeast Women in Public Finance. In addition to that, Beth went to MBIA, where she worked for 18 years, analyzing marketing, executing, monitoring, and remediating municipal bond transactions. If you live anywhere, you know the impact that municipal bonds can have on your life and in the life of your family to help get you the services you need. And so that level of responsibility is enormous. So if that's not enough, Beth was elected to White Plains Common Council, and she served as a councilwoman for many, many years. Beth is at the forefront in really holding the banner for women and being that person to mentor, care, and go forward. And it is without further ado and technical difficulties that we have absolutely talk about conquering that Beth is here with us. Beth, hi, you've done it. And this is Beth's first Instagram Live, and she's here with us. So everybody give her a round of applause for that.
And yeah, thank you so much, Risa, for having me on. And I know just from knowing you for many years, you yourself have been so supportive of, women and women in public finance also, and helping us through the pandemic and with your wisdom. So thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure. And Beth, we're just going to jump right in. And my first question to you is that, you're a woman who's accomplished so much. You've created entities, you've moved things along. And so what is it that you needed to disrupt inside yourself in order to achieve the personal and professional success that you've had
Well,
at
I
this
would have
point in
to
your
say,
life?
I was raised fairly traditionally in a pastor's family, though. So I had a lot of experiences around other people and caring for other people and community and things like that. But, after going to college and grad school, start in the workplace at Moody's, very deal driven, time sensitive, analysis that had to be done. And, I realized that I had to, you're raised to be accommodating, kind, trusting, and all those other things. But to do my job at Moody's, I, needed to be a critical thinker and, not always take everything at face value, and dig deeply and make sure I got the truth, because I soon figured out that people will tell you one thing, but the analysis and the reading and the what may show that they could be not quite telling you exactly the story at the time. So Moody's really made me step out of my comfort zone and do a lot of questioning and trust but verify just about everything, because the markets are depending on an honest evaluation, and for you to do that kind of in-depth work. So that was a personal disruption and stepping out of my comfort
Mm-hmm.
zone.
Yeah. And so just the aside for a moment is that, particularly in the traditional feminine and gendered expectations, is that you're going to be a people pleaser, you're not going to ruffle feathers, that you're going to make sure everybody feels good, and that, everybody's happy, and that's part of your job. So what was it like for you to step out of that spot and break
Well,
through part of what was
well, I
expected and
had some
ingrained?
wonderful role models at Moody's. Frida, she was Stern Ackerman at the time, now Frida Johnson, was a great role model for young women. And, there were other women. I think there always been more women in the public finance space as opposed to corporate space, starting out, at Moody's, and then moving into other areas of finance. And so it was really wonderful to have her as a role model. And there were just, expectations. Plus, if you didn't get it right, they could appeal, the issuer, whomever, the government could appeal your decision. So I had a few appeals, but I had all my facts straight, and we never had to revise an initial rating that I put out there. So, that was the job. And there was a lot of camaraderie there and a lot of support. We came in training classes, a lot of women in my training class, and we're friends and, to this day.
Amazing. Margaret
Uh-huh.
Albright,
Oh,
Madeline Albright, Madeline Albright, has a famous quote about women who undo women, that there's a special ring in hell for them. But I don't know if there's a corollary or as strong a corollary for the women who support other women and aren't, and don't feel, threatened, but the women who support other women and mentor and really help bring them up in a way that is so important, and that you had that experience. And I think that I know that that's an experience that you have brought to other women,
right? And that
in this
was the
area.
impetus for us starting Northeast Women in Public Finance. And there was still a boys club, and for those who didn't know how to golf, but even those who did know how to golf weren't necessarily invited to golf. We needed a networking for women in the industry. And in public finance, you're dealing with, financial officials and CEOs from hospitals, from universities, from governments. And again, the clients were the investors, but we would rate bonds for these entities. And then later I went to MBIA and bond insurance, but we were dealing with a lot of high level women. And, women like to see women in deal teams and things like that. And there was, Northeast Women in Public Finance was to educate women, but also to allow these networking opportunities for very high level women who were our clients. And, this was a special entree to them. I had a friend who we were doing hospitals and visiting them, and she had been doing hospital analysis for a long time. And a lot of the hospitals are Catholic hospitals. So she would be meeting with sisters. And, she's like, I was thinking we'd do a knitting circle because, they didn't want to go golfing, but, there's ways to connect with the clients and among the women. And then we set up a mentoring program, which, it's not somebody within your company, but you can have really frank discussions about how to handle certain situations that, a new woman in the industry would maybe not have been exposed to before because of the way we were trained. And a lot of the things that you would hear from young women, and you can do very well to a certain point, but by just being a great analyst and very smart and everything. But at some point, the company is looking for people who, can bring in clients, can work with clients, and things like that. And that's really where I think Northeast Women in Public Finance has had its biggest role. And, I was, meeting with the woman who was, issuing all the debt for the state of Connecticut. Actually, she was on our board. So we tried to have as equal number of people from the industry, lawyers, financial advisors, bankers, bond insurers, you name it. And then women from who were in high level positions. And we did start the Frida Johnson Award to highlight women and give awards. And one of our first was the Treasurer of Connecticut. And then Gina Raimundo, who was in Rhode Island. Now she's the Commerce Secretary. She was governor of Rhode Island, but I think she started out as financial person for the state. So that has really energized our industry in a different way. I mean, we had through the bond buyer, working with the bond buyer.
Good.
The bond buyer would have their Deal of the Year award. And if you went to it, it was mostly men in Texas. And now they give the Frida Johnson and Trailblazer awards. And you have women sitting there and it's, you can even visually just see the difference.
Beth, for a lot of people may not know, I realize, like, what this means. If you could sum up in just a couple of sentences what your job looked like and what does that mean to be
right.
in
Well, I
public
started out
finance?
as a researcher. at Moody's, and which involved looking at the entities, financials. There's an offering statement, but we also looked at economics of the entity, longevity, governance, things like that. I went to MBIA. I needed to use those same analytical skills, but we worked with the bankers and the government or entity to understand if it was insurable. And a lot of the work there was going out and meeting with these clients and letting them know what we could offer and understanding them better. For every hospital financing we did, we went to the hospital to gauge all those factors that I just mentioned. So, and questioned. I mean, I have seen people go into meetings and just say, well, tell me what I need to know. Well, people are going to only tell you what they want you to know, not, what you should know. So I would very much dig into the numbers and all the information I could find. So you could have a dialogue, and guess what? Our clients appreciated that you took the time to really get to know who they were and what they're doing. And, so that was always very important to me. And then, as you know, at Bond Factor, we had to meet with investors, and I just felt like I pulled all these other skills together at Bond Factor when we went out to raise funds or, had to develop the structure of the company and figure out what spaces we were going to play in as from a credit perspective. So it's all these factors. It's interesting how one part of your life prepares you for the next one.
Yes. So, Beth, what's one project that you've worked on? Well, first of all, I'd like to listen to what Beth is saying and the level of analysis that she's done and really going in and making sense, taking numbers, finding what's real and true and honest about what's really happening. And so much for the people who think that women and have thought and still have it kind of in their heads that women and numbers, it really doesn't go together. And so when you're thinking about this, your career, and we're going to go into the public finance area before we go into the electoral area, that when you think about your career, what's one space when you think about that deal or that, those bonds that you helped to make happen? What's one thing that you think of that you feel really proud of the many?
I'm from Chicago would you originally, and we were looking at bonds for Rush University Medical Center, which is one of the 5 teaching hospitals in Chicago. They had parts of that hospital that went back over 100 years. And so we went out, and they had some financial challenges, which a lot of hospitals did as the funding has changed over the decades and how they're funded. So we went through, and, the neonatal unit is in this very old part of the hospital. And so I spent a lot of time talking to management, the finance officer, who was also a woman, and seeing how we could get to a yes on this deal. It was a lot of debt to refurbish most of the hospital. There may have been an addition, I can't remember, but certainly the need was there. And I would say when they finished their renovation and they could provide, all the services they wanted, because, and you can imagine how technology has changed over the years, and, like the infrastructure,
100 years ago,
was just being held together. So when they finished that project, and, it's in the newspaper about Rush University Medical Center, I just felt so good about that. It's finance, but there's a public purpose to what we were doing. And we had to work hard and totally understand. But one thing I saw with them is they executed on what they said they would do. And they had a history with this new management team of doing that. So I could actually trust them. They trusted me. And was just very proud of being able to make that place better.
Well,
Yes.
you really affected lives. You affected the experiences that people had. People also, one of the things that's so important about being in a community is that you know that, wow, if anything were to happen, if one of my children, if something happens, that we have a good
Right.
hospital to go to, right? And it changes people's lives. It not changes people's lives. It helps keep people alive. And especially you're talking about 100-year-old neonatal area that is just not
Right.
up to par. It's not up to speed. And what's the impact that has on the community? Where if you have a child, when you have a baby and your baby's in trouble, that like,
Right.
oh my gosh, I wish I wasn't here. I wish I was someplace else. For you to know that you're at someplace good. So, there's just, I think that when people think about bonds and being a bond analyst, that they may not know, because I didn't know. You taught me so much about this, like how to connect the dots to what that means to do this work so that you can help people get what they get, which is ways of really impacting their
That's
lives so
rewarding.
positively.
That's the rewarding part of it.
Fantastic. So that's one part. Now there's another, there are so many segments of your life. And Beth, one of the things that I talked about in the video where I was talking about you is that you're a woman, a person who has really embraced your and that you didn't do a this, I'm a this or a that, that you embody and you are a woman of your own design. You're a woman who've been in public finance, supporting women, mentoring, in a mom of many, a mom to many, a spouse, and you have also
Yes.
been a
So, this whole
councilwoman.
thing about community and trying to help, I had been very involved in White Plains community, part through PTA councils and lobbying and things like that, but also on budget advisory committees in White Plains. And, when the big recession hit, it was hitting White Plains. A lot of their revenues were coming from sales tax. It's been a shopping mecca, as people in the region will know. And it was just a nosedive financially. So I felt that I had some skills that I could bring to being a council person. I had also, been very involved in the League of Women Voters, had been president for a while when I was home for a little while, giving birth to my children. And so I knew a lot of folks in the community, and a woman had asked me to consider running. This is another thing for women, and I'm not saying all men, but some men, just feel they're entitled. They should be the elected official. Whereas women, if you talk to them, more of them need to be asked to step into the arena. Whereas, I don't think that's as much the case for men. So she had come to me, and certainly the city was facing some financial challenges. I had done workouts on problem bonds that were having problems. So I had some workout skills plus the financial analytical skills, plus I was someone well known in the community. So I decided to run for office, and won along with my team. There were 3 of us running for council and the mayor at the time. So I got in, and I brought the same approach of analysis, and and talking to a lot of people, just as I would do on a site visit, to understand what all the issues are. And did that for 8 years. And, sometimes people don't really want you to be so prepared because they just want what they want. And, a lot of people, they're going to look how things affect them personally, maybe not the city as a whole. So that was more my approach.
Yes. So just another aside that it's always nice to be invited. If there's something that you're doing, if there's something that's interesting, this is to the community who's here. If there's something that you're doing, if there's something that's interesting, if there's something that you think, oh, wow, that's kind of nice, invite someone. Invite someone, pull someone in with you, bring someone along. Sometimes we're not sure if we have, there are more men who apply to jobs with less percentage of the requirements than women. And so sometimes women say, oh, I don't know enough to really go to that meeting. I don't know enough to go in and to do or try that. So bring someone along with you. Bring a friend. Invite someone and take someone's hand and bring them in with you. And that's enormously helpful. So Beth, I want to ask you this question because just for people who are tuning in right now, Beth has been just a forerunner in public finance and in working with municipal bonds. And meeting Beth is, tremendous manners, well-spoken, even as they come. And sometimes when you present that way, you're discounted. And so people can mistake that for not being assertive, not knowing enough, not being confident enough. So Beth, could you let us know a little bit more about your Viking
Yes, that was
side?
a little story I told you. When I was not running for re-election, there was a little event, and our mayor got up to say a few words, and she's the most polite, even-tempered person, but don't get on her wrong side, bad side. She's really a Viking in there. So he was, which was pretty funny, which is, my nationality background is Scandinavian, so it's pretty funny. But yeah, and I mean, sometimes people put you in that box so they don't feel threatened, and they're insecure, and knowing that you're maybe a step below them or whatever makes it comfortable, or not. But my approach is just chip away and get to the final result that I want. I don't need to scream. I don't need to bully. And I found but I need to be prepared. And that's how I got things done as a councilwoman. And it has served me well in life. Can be frustrating, but it's that approach works for me.
Right.
I'm not
the course.
Staying the course. You don't call me.
Just
then you're going to be getting a call every day, and eventually you'll get to where you need to go.
So Beth, before we conclude and take our glam shot, what's the next disruption ahead of you?
That's an interesting question. I'm working on a number of advisory boards right now, and I think it's just continuing to say my truth and give my opinion and work to help an entity get there. So I am not doing a 9-to-5 job anymore, but exploring other interests and involvements to continue to help out.
That's amazing. And so know that whatever skills, to the greater audience here, that no matter what skills you have, don't discount them, because it may be those skills from another point in time, whether you were waitress, whether you were in the restaurant service industry and carrying a tray or whatever else, that the skills that you've developed are transferable in some way, shape, or form. You're taking them with you, and they're helping to form how you experience what you've learned, how you've been able to respond, how you're able to think on your feet, take something and run with it. So Beth is a tremendous role model for taking your skills, using them in different places, never giving up. Beth did not give up about getting on this Instagram today. It was a journey.
Another new skill.
Easy, but another new skill to take with you for your next Instagram live, and that, stick with it. Stick with it. And even when people aren't reflecting back your value, you hold on to your value and just find it's your inner Viking, or whatever that means for you, your inner warrior, your inner commitment to what you know. Stick with it and go with it. Beth, I cannot thank you enough for being here today, sharing your story with us, and the stick-to-itiveness, and just, staying on and continuing forever to be a disruptor, to make change, and to really help people in their lives. So thank you so much.
You.
Let's take our photo. And you ready?
Do
need a little hair flip or anything?
Do a little bit of that.
Okay. All right, here we go.
Okay.
One more. And everyone, thanks so much for joining today. Don't worry, you'll find, if you weren't able to watch all of it, you can come back and find it. It will be posted. Let your friends know, anyone who may be in finance, women in finance. Beth is a tremendous person to learn from. And I'm Dr. Risa Ryger, and see you next time.